So we asked the question, why AIG and not Lehman? And it's also good to note that Goldman Sachs, from which Paulson came, was an enormous shareholder in AIG.
We had an email that came in last week and I thought it was interesting. I wanted to read it. It was from Darren. It is my belief that the reason for the vast spending in the government bailout and foreign aid is to devalue the U.S. dollar as fast as possible. There are two reasons for this. First, turn the American people and world population against the U.S. dollar, and second, the U.S. dollar needs to be close to the same value as the Mexican peso. Next, we will need the Canadian, Mexican, and American government to save us. How will they do this? How will they save us? That's right. Can you say North American Union? Get ready, your dollar will be an Amero. And that was sent to us by Darren. I thought that was very interesting. And you can email us on air at therealnewsradio.com. And our website, therealnewsradio.com, is a work in progress. Again, if you'd like to call in and comment, 336-998-9375. We had a letter that was sent to us by Al Plummer, and I wanted to read this in case there's other plumbers that would like to get involved with his cause. Join with us in telling the state no to this new license tax called well contractor certification. We've been working on repairing well pumps for years as a state-controlled licensed plumber contractor. We don't need another class to sit in and pay for each year, as well as another book and license tax also. I was told by a government bureaucrat just to pass this on to the consumer. How much more can the consumer stand? Join with us, contact your state bureaucrat, and say no to this new unnecessary tax. Let us stand together and try to change back state government to, for, and by the people, and not a dictatorship over the people. Sincerely, Al Cobb. That's Al's Plumbing Repair, P.O. Box 293, Mocksville, North Carolina, 27028, if you'd like to get in contact with him. We also want to announce that next Saturday, 2 p.m., Walmart in Mooresville, the Real News Crew is going to be there handing out copies of the Bill of Rights, DVDs. If you'd like to meet us, we're going to take it to the streets every Saturday. Unless it's raining, we will be there. We're going to post it on our website. We'll announce it next week. We'd like for all of you to join us. I think in times like this, it's time for us to band together on a local level. And also, I had someone point out to me this week and asked me to point this out on the air. Why is it that in Davie County, your electric bills is much lower than the electric bills in Iredell County? Can anyone call in and explain that? And how come gas is lower in Davie County and didn't have near the shortage that we had in Iredell County? Why is it so much more expensive at just one county over? My family all lives in Davie County, so I'm here all the time. I don't remember it being like this until some time here recently, and so I'm curious why the change came. But if you'd like to comment on that, feel free to give us a call. And I want to follow up on another story we've been covering. The FBI is declining to release at least 15,000 pages of documents related to the now deceased prime suspect in the 2001 anthrax attacks, despite lingering suspicions that the Bureau has accused the wrong man. In August, the FBI and Justice Department identified Bruce Ivins, a former microbiologist at the U.S. Army's Biological Weapons Research Center at Fort Detrick, Maryland, as the only person involved in the attacks that killed 5 people. But David Hardy, the section chief of the FBI's Records Management Division, notified McClatchy newspaper that his office couldn't immediately release the records because there were investigative leads still open and the FBI needed to withhold the documents to protect confidential sources, privacy, law enforcement techniques, and a suspect's right to a fair trial. McClatchy has filed a request for the documents under the Federal Freedom of Information Act, which generally permits the release of records of a dead person. Ivins committed suicide, supposedly, in July. In a letter received by the McClatchy today, Hardy said the FBI has identified a significant number of documents related to Ivins that has been released and is still searching for other relevant records. I fully intend to continue to report on this bizarre case the government has put forward as to the guilt of Mr. Ivins. Our press sadly has let them by once again with promoting the lone nut theory when the facts just continue to seem to not add up. And this past week, Pakistan accused the U.S. of terrorism. Pakistan Prime Minister has termed the U.S. incursions into the country's tribal belt as an act of terrorism. A joint session of the Parliament would be called soon to discuss the issue. He added that the PPP-led government wants to unite all of the political parties over the national issue of sovereignty Giuliani's comments came after 8 people were killed in a U.S. drone strike at a house in the volatile northwest region of the country. The incident took place about midnight on Tuesday near the town of Mir Ali in northern part of the country. In the past month, U.S. forces have carried out 7 missile strikes by pilotless drones and a commando raid on the Pakistani side of the border. Washington's recent unilateral strikes inside Pakistan have triggered sovereignty debates with the corridors of the parliament in Islamabad. Pakistan leaders, including the president and premier, have lashed out at the United States over violation of Pakistan's air and ground space and killing of innocent civilians. Political analysts believe that though there's no war going on between the U.S. and Pakistan yet, but recent exchanges of fire involving American and Pakistani forces are sounding like a sputtering fuse that's growing even shorter. So we're reporting that Pakistan's leaders refer to our killing as citizens in their airspace without permission as terrorism. I thought that was a little bit interesting.
And again, our phones are out at WSIC. If you would like to call us here at our Davie County number, 336-998-9375.
We've got just a few minutes if you'd like to call in before we go off of the air. And every week we have a poll on our website, and usually we get the content of the poll from the content of the radio broadcast. And this week it was Bush for selling us out completely during the past 8 years, those that destroyed our economy now claiming to know how to fix it, California judicial system denying people's rights, Secretary Possum bailing out his buddies at Goldman Sachs, the state of North Carolina, the press, and us the public for allowing this hoaxed gas shortage here in Idaho County, the do-nothing Democrats that have had control and allowed this debacle. And the winner is Bush for selling out us completely during the last 8 years. Thought that was kind of interesting. And again, our website is the realnewsradio.com, on air at the realnewsradio.com. If you'd like to email us, we'd like to hear from you. And thought this was interesting this week. Chinese regulators have told domestic banks to stop interbank lending to United States financial institutions to prevent possible losses during the financial crisis, the South China Morning Post reported on Thursday. The Hong Kong newspaper cited unidentified industry sources as saying the instruction from China Banking Regulatory Commission applied to interbank lending of all currencies to U.S. banks, but not to bank from other countries. The decree appears to be Beijing's first attempt to erect defenses against the deepening U.S. financial meltdown after the mainland major lenders reported billions of U.S. dollars in exposure to the credit crisis. This past week, too, China signs up for Venezuelan oil. China has signed a deal to buy Venezuela's oil in a move that could mean a shift of supplies away from the U.S. The deal will expand energy ties between the two nations, with plans to build 3 oil refineries in China capable of processing the Venezuelan crude, which is heavily laden with sulfur. Chavez has said he expects exports to China to be more than treble to 1 million barrels per day by 2012, and has announced that the two governments plan to double the size of a joint investment fund to $12 billion. Industry sources say, however, the great distance between two countries could be an obstacle to the sale of large volumes. The expansion in economic ties with China is likely to encourage Chavez to pursue his long-stated plan to divert oil supplies away from the U.S., a development that has caused unease in Washington. Again, our website is therealnewsradio.com. Next Saturday, 2 o'clock, Walmart, Mooresville. We're going to be passing out copies of the Bills of Rights. Come down and meet us. It'll be Farron, Ty, Jim, Brian, the rest of the Real News crew, so we'd like to meet you. And we will be staying on top of the real news. So until next week, this is Farron and Brian saying, God help us all.